Well, that's all the swearing and the funny voices out the way for another week, so it's time to say welcome to the Comedy Slab with Shane O'Connor and Adrian Lacey. The reason I mention that is because some would say those are the best bits of the podcast that we never ever record, do we, Adrian? The swearing and the funny voices.
Not only do we not record them, they don't actually happen. It's just a kind of virtual thing you point towards. Didn't anyone tell you in the book of the Bible of radio presentation?
Yeah.
Never make the listener feel excluded.
Oh no, I did the other one. I bought the book that said, tell them things that they don't know whether they're true or not. It'll really mess with their brains.
Yeah.
If you imagine the start of this podcast before we press the record button. If you imagine, if you know Peter Cook and Dudley Moore, if you imagine Derek and Clive in a helium-filled room, that's pretty close.
Why
to
helium-filled?
Hello,
you flipping flipper. Right,
that's
okay.
pretty close to how we start the show every week, isn't it? Really?
I don't think we can match that really for humour or filth, for that matter.
Or filthy humour.
Filthy humour.
See, you don't even get to hear the Irish voices that we do every week.
Oh dear. Yeah, well, we don't really want to start an international incident, do we?
No, not even a local incident.
No.
Well, we might start a local one, actually. I wouldn't...
starting?
No, maybe not. Anyway, welcome to the Comedy Slab podcast. If you're not caught up with us before, it's me, Shane O'Connor, and it's Adrian Lacey. I can't remember who I am. It's me, Shane O'Connor, and him, Adrian Lacey, talking about comedy. We choose a comedy programme to review every week. One of us chooses the one week, and so I suppose we do it alternately, it would be fair to say. And
yes.
And then we watch the comedy programme, and then we blather about what we think about it, and then we give it some points at the end, and then we play some clips sort of halfway through, or about 2/3 of the way. Hang on, a third. And then
there are 3 clips. They can't all be at the same point, can they?
No, hang on a second. Yeah, we don't. We don't. So as we go along, we throw some clips in.
Yes, something like that.
And that's kind of more or less it. And it was my turn to choose last week, and I beat you to the punch, didn't I? Because didn't I say, "Oh, I want to do this," and you went, "I wanted to do that."
But in a funny way, I beat you to the punch because I'd started to watch it due to a recommendation.
You watter. So
I know. Watter.
Yeah. So you hadn't watched the whole episode, though, had you?
I hadn't, to be fair. Although I'd watched more than one of my devices thought I had, because I watched from 4 minutes in, which is where I thought I got to, and actually it was all very familiar to about 10 minutes in. So, but that's neither here nor there, because as ever, we watch things or listen to them, if it's a radio show we're slabbing or podcast, at least twice. And so, yeah, there's no harm in a recap when we're slabbing something.
Don't you hate it when technology does that to you, though, and it says, oh, no, it's this, and you know it's something. The one that really gets on my nerves, and it happened this week, because big shout out for Aston Villa, who are through to the Championship playoff finals, for those who don't know. And if you're listening to this sometime down the road, you'll go, what are you on about? They got promoted ages ago, so they're now in the Premier League again, where they should be, and rightly be all along. But they had a rather protracted semi-final with West Bromwich Albion in the week, which took about 15 years off my life expectancy. And
it does remind me, sorry, because you're in the Midlands.
Yeah.
Does that count as a local derby? There's one that does and one that doesn't.
Birmingham City's the big one for Aston Villa, really. I mean, West Brom, if we've got no one else to fight, I suppose, is a fair...
On a rainy day.
Yeah, and Warsaw, we just go around and cuddle them because, you know, they need it. They're lovely.
Patronising so-and-so.
But the thing was, Twitter then, 2 days later, recommendations of who I'd like to follow. Would I like to follow West Bromwich Albion? I mean, what do you think?
Well, there's something wrong in the algorithm there, isn't it? It says, oh, you've shown interest in this match with 2 teams.
Yeah. So you must love both of them, because I don't understand how football works.
My favourite, well, you could have, that will be on my tombstone, and indeed is true now. But because I don't dig football, except when Watford are winning, and I happen to hear about it, which is, you know, the chances of both happening at the same time, fairly minimal.
Yeah.
Up the Hornets, Yellow Army, and all those things I think you meant to say. My favourite T-shirt...
Because that was your local team, wasn't it? Just for people to go...
Yeah.
I was raised football, if I don't follow football, I support Watford.
Oh, that's what people say.
Yeah.
who despise other people's teams, which, you know. Anyway, my favourite T-shirt was, and it could, you could adopt it, or I could buy it for myself. It just said, "The team from my area is superior to the team from your area."
That's when he works universally, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Doesn't matter where
Unless
you are.
you perversely support a team that's not where you live, which I suppose can happen quite a lot.
Oh, it does. That's. I mean, Man United have built a whole career and following on that, haven't they? Basically, you know, they're saying that most of their support is in
Japan.
Kent, I think. Yeah, the rest is in Japan. Anyway, sorry, I forgot to mention what the show was that we.
Yes, it's a minor detail.
You'd started watching, and I'd not seen, but I'd seen I think I'd seen the trails for it, and that's why I kind of thought, ooh, like that. And
Monkey boy.
somebody said put some more cold in, and it was all right after that. I'd seen the trails. You'd seen the program Ghosts. Not to be confused with Patrick Swayze. Oh my love.
Did he sing that at that register?
I don't think anybody's sung that in that register before, or again.
No. But was the movie? I had to try and think. Was the movie called Ghosts or Ghost or something with ghosts in it?
It was Ghost, wasn't it?
Ghosts.
I went to see Ghost the musical, and with my lovely wife, and we walked out at the interval. It was that bad.
Oh dear.
It was just awful. It was all just like building up to the Potter's Wheel scene.
Right. I'm sorry, I was thinking of the interlude that used to be a Potter's Wheel, but before either of our times.
Yeah,
legendary.
way before my time, mate. Anyway, so sorry, Ghosts, which was spawned out of the, and I love this. I love this whole idea that this is like a kind of collective that works together. They're like to use an older fashioned phrase, they're like a repertory company, aren't they? That have done many things. They've done Yonderland, they've done Horrible Histories, and they've also done a film about William Shakespeare called Bill. I don't know if you've seen any of that. I saw
I haven't.
A couple of clips. And there's the same 4 or 5 of them, isn't there? That kind of with Horrible Histories. I saw an interview and they're saying they really object to being called the people behind Horrible Histories, because obviously it was Terry Deary who wrote the books. And they said we're kind of just the ensemble cast who brought it to life, kind of thing. And it isn't. People think that they've written or they wrote Horrible Histories. I saw one the other day with Rowan Atkinson in as a guest star. Actually, it was quite interesting. Horrible Histories, that is. But yeah, it's the same team that brought those, and they've done this program called Ghosts. Which do you want to just give a quick synopsis of what it's about, because it's quite a simple plot, isn't it? Really, in a way.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you it's the way it was told to me, because a fellow singer in my local choir, Roz, just recommended it, and she said it's a very gentle comedy, and I said, as you do, what's it about? And that's a great way to get someone else to distill something they like. And she just said it was about this couple that move into a haunted house. And what she said then, possible spoiler alert. But
yeah,
not
I know
vast.
exactly what you're going to say. That she ruined the first episode for you, didn't she?
Not entirely, but I was a bit confused. Am I allowed to reveal that the wife can see the ghost?
No, don't tell him that.
I have now. Oh. Okay, she can't see the ghost.
Well, we'll talk about that a bit later, won't we? Because it is one of the, as you say, it's one of the plot
She
points.
either can or can't, and that's why I was confused.
Right. We'll
You
have
did
to
ask.
we'll have to break for that just to decide whether we're going to say. Yeah, we will.
Oh, yeah.
Of course we will. I think. I don't think you're giving much away there, are you? Really?
I think we're going to have to get to that eventually.
Yeah. But yeah, simplicity itself, isn't it, as a plot? I mean, I don't know how the other episodes pan out, because we've only seen the first, and that's all I managed to watch, because I haven't got around to the others yet. But I mean, simplicity itself in terms of plot line is not complex at all, is it? But provides for a huge cast as well, though, doesn't it? Is the one thing that struck me straight away.
It is pretty vast.
Because. We've got quite a few ghosts in there. You think they've got more ghosts than they? I don't know. Maybe we'll come back to that. Should we have a clip? Should we have a quick listen and see what they?
Yeah. High time for that.
Set it up for people. Let's go right back to the start of the episode. Near enough, actually. I'll mention how it all starts a little bit later. But we catch up with the main protagonist, the couple in question that Adrian mentioned, Alison and Mike. They're flat hunting. They're out looking for a flat for the two of them. We find out that they've got married. And whilst Alison and Mike are out looking for a flat with the estate agent, Alison gets a call on a mobile.
Nice view of the street.
Yeah. Buddies, fish and pizza.
Well, we do like both those things. It's rubbish, isn't it?
Yep.
It's so bad.
It's awful, and I hate it.
Sorry.
Nah, fair enough. I wouldn't want to live here either.
Hello?
Oh, hello. Is that Alison Cooper?
Speaking?
I'm calling about a house.
We're only looking at flats. We can't afford to buy a house.
No, this one's not for sale.
But then why are you calling? God, I hate estate agents. Apart from the good ones like you. Yep.
Sorry, I think we've got off on the wrong foot. I'm a solicitor at Worthing, Cole and Simons, and I'm calling to inform you that you have, in fact, inherited a house. Hello? Hello?
Who's your lady friend? That's a song, isn't it? Right, okay. That's fine as far as it goes. Did you want to ask me a sort of overall headline about how I felt about it, or do we not do that anymore? I forgot it last week.
I don't mind. How do you feel about it all?
No. I don't want to put words into your mouth.
Okay.
I'll put them into my mouth.
How are you feeling about it all? Everything.
Oh dear. Well, I heard you laugh once during that, which is roughly once more than I laughed in the entire 29 minutes, I'm afraid.
Eavesdropper. Really? You didn't like it at all?
There's no two ways about it.
Wow.
Yeah, we're on opposite sides of the Mathew Baynton divide, unfortunately, aren't we? 'Cause,
Yeah. Although I don't see it, I didn't really see it as his vehicle. Did you? I mean, he has a fairly subservient role, doesn't he, in all of this? I mean, I know we reviewed Quacks way back in, when was that? Was one of the early days, wasn't it? Episode 13 of the Comedy Slab podcast, and which was, he had a much more prominent role in that. And I don't think you got on with him then, did you really?
I don't want to be nasty, because he's a perfectly serviceable actor. Just that's almost the problem in a way. He just doesn't excite for me. I should say he has got a bigger role behind the scenes, as it were, being one of the exec producers on this show.
I think that's because they are a collective, though, isn't it? If you look at the exec producers, it's the main 5 actors.
He's also co-writer, isn't he?
Yeah, and that's the 5 actors again. I think because they do it as a troupe, like baboons. Is it baboons or a troupe? I can never remember.
Soldiers, isn't it?
Baboons?
Troops or soldiers.
Oh, a soldier of baboons.
Are you pretending to not be all that? I'm not sure when you're acting.
I'm sure you do this a lot of the time, just to make me go down the pub and go, you'll never guess what a collective noun for baboons is. It's only a soldier. My mate Adrian told me, and he'd never lie.
He wouldn't. Oh, dearie.
The interesting thing is that you saw Mathew Baynton as to me, the lead in this was Charlotte Ritchie.
Oh, yeah. Actually, no, I accept your point in terms of acting role here.
Well, how'd you get on with her then?
She's perfectly fine, but there's a fundamental flaw, which is what the heck is she doing with that husband? Because he's playing a bit dumb, frankly.
Yeah.
And she's playing quite bright.
I struggle with the husband, actually. What's his name? Kyle Smith Bino, is it? Or Bino? Or...
Well, I tried looking it up. I've got an app, but unfortunately it didn't extend to double-barreled names of that nature.
Right.
And, well, I was going to go with Keel, actually, for his first name, but equally that didn't Not a single one. Well, apart from the word Smith, which I'm fairly confident with. But that was on my app, but I didn't really need help with it.
The only thing with him, I found him difficult to understand. He kind of swallowed his words a lot of the time, and I found him quite difficult. I'm thinking, what was he saying? And it was only when I went back the second time to watch it that I kind of picked up some more of his lines. Now I really like her. And I've seen her. I first came across her. Have you ever seen Siblings, a BBC Three comedy?
No, I was clicking on what she'd done. I saw she had been in that. Yeah.
Okay, we must slab that one of the weeks because I'd be interested to see what you thought of that. Because I won't tell you what I thought of it because you try and trick me into sexy talk.
You very nearly said I loved it.
I didn't say that though, did I? And she was also in a Johnny Sweet thing called Hard to Tell. Which was a kind of love story comedy, which was really quite. But again, we should slab that one of the weeks, see what you think of that, because I thought it was quite interesting the way it was written. And she was also in Fresh Meat. She played Oregon in Fresh Meat, which was from the creators of Peep Show, Sam Bain, and
you know how to get to my heart.
So you've never seen Fresh Meat either?
No, and you failed to mention arguably one of the biggest roles in terms of the size of audience that would have seen her.
Oh well, that's because I haven't seen it.
Call the Midwife, but only in. I say only. Oh, I actually it says show all 30 episodes. Nurse Barbara Hereward doesn't mean an awful lot to me.
No,
not having seen it like you, it seems.
I have never ever called the Midwife. Well, I have actually. That's
you've
not
called
true.
The real one, haven't you?
Yeah, I've called the real one, but I've never watched the programme.
Don't need to now with your 2 kids.
And while we're on the subject of cast as well, then, all right. And
I thought we were on the subject of babies, but yeah, okay. Steer it back.
But, well, there's got a cast of babies, cast of thousands. What about the rest? Did the rest of the cast didn't save it for you? Like Katie Wicks as Mary, what was she, the milking parlour maid, wasn't she, or something? Or
oh, there's loads of good individual performances. I think I have it'll sound very boring, but it's very necessary. It's a structural problem and a believability problem. There ain't no rules about what these ghosts can and can't do, and it's all over the place. And I couldn't get that out of my mind.
Go on, explain. I had one thing that kind of made me think, oh, hang on, that's troubling me now. Which you kind of, I then chastise myself because I think, oh, just enjoy the program, you big sausage. What were the believability problems that you had then?
Well, but that sounds like you're blaming yourself for not enjoying something that might not be your fault. Well, this will involve the spoiler thing, but I think we're sort of agreed we're not going to steer around it, haven't we?
Well, let me tell you what mine was then. But it was they couldn't actually touch objects, but then they sit on sofas.
Yes, or they walk through walls, which you imagine might have been there for some years. One of them is a caveman, and it's pointed out at one point. It's only that he lived on that land. Obviously, being a caveman, he lived in a cave, presumably.
Yeah. Why is he called Robin? What is
Robin?
Why is the caveman called Robin? I love that. I thought that was awesome.
That'll be why then. It's for sheer amusement. But they probably sat around thinking, what's the last thing a caveman would be called? Sorry, you were going to say.
I was just going to say the caveman I really love because he turns out to be the brightest amongst most of them, doesn't he? Really, it's like he's playing somebody. Is he playing the MP at chess at one stage? And he goes, "Oh, the horse." He goes, "Bloop, bloop, bloop, bloop. Let's checkmate." And he goes, "All right, best of 20." Which I kind of like that. I don't know. I thought the cast might dig it out for you. Like I say,
yeah, but you can't rescue a flawed plotline. I don't think
it's not a documentary, though, is it? It's like
no, but okay. I'm going to have to say it then, because you haven't said it.
Go on.
And there are other episodes to enjoy, and I don't think it will ruin it for anyone. I mean, no one takes me seriously enough, and no one listens to me anyway. They've all gone off making a cup of tea, or they're driving on the motorway or something listening to this. But Julian, the MP, I like the running gag, as Ros did. She told me in advance and it didn't ruin it. he's got no trousers on. So we imagine how his career might have ended. Being an MP. I mean,
love
perhaps
that.
we
I thought
shouldn't.
that was awesome.
Perhaps we shouldn't race to conclusions.
No.
But then again, it's probably something to do with that. Anyway, you mentioned objects and touching of. He does a demonstration in front of the gang because they're trying to work out what they can do to spook the new residents, in effect, aren't they?
They decide to haunt them, don't they? So they are ghosts.
Yeah.
So,
although apparently it doesn't come that naturally to them, but hey, that's part of the gag. But so he's demonstrating his party piece, in effect, as a ghost, which but we see them solidly. I should say that I wasn't clear about that. They're either walking through walls, they might momentarily appear non-solid. For the rest of the time, you either see them or you don't. And they're solid if you see them, and if you don't see them, clearly nothing there at all. Although we may hear them as listeners. Anyway, so he's struggling to, it turns out, not put his hand through a mug, but actually nudge the mug and tip it off onto the floor. And so the joke is how hard he finds that, but he gets there eventually. But then minutes later, he's actually throwing someone out of the window, which I would have thought was very much harder to do than just tip a mug, which he struggled with moments before.
Although he did say he'd only tried it on mugs, so it could be it's actually easier to do it on people.
Well, why in heaven's name would that be the case?
I've got you, haven't I? I've got you.
You haven't got me. I've got you.
You're caught in a trap.
I've got you, babe. I've got you, babe. Da 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 da.
Should we hear that clip? Because not only have you ruined the whole episode, you've also ruined the clips as well.
Sorry. Yeah. Shall I shut up and you do the talking?
But there are a number of ghosts, as Adrian has said in his spoiler.
No, you said there were a number. Anyway.
And they have decided, as Adrian said in his spoiler, that the best way to get rid of the couple, as Adrian said in his spoiler.
I did say it was a spoiler.
Well, that's their excuse.
What's the point of saying it's a spoiler and then not spoiling it?
Well, my lord, I did say I was going to shoot him. Oh, well, that's all right then. Off you go. So the ghosts all get together, as Adrian said in his spoiler. And they decide that the best way to get rid of the couple is to haunt them. But as Adrian said in his spoiler, it's not as easy as one might think.
Now then, let's have a look at some of the skills at our disposal, shall we? Now, we all know that Robin can do that thing with the lights. You please, Robin?
Oh, yeah.
Very good. Yes, Mary?
When I pass through live-ins, they smells burn-ins.
Excellent. None of those are plural, but...
'Tis a most noxious stink soap.
When I was alive...
Oh, here he gives.
It was rumoured a little plague girl could oft be heard singing in the pantry.
Ring a roses, a pocket full of pieces, a tissue, we all fall down. People find it scary, apparently.
Can't think why.
Well, I've written 2 words which, for me, sum it up and kill any tension, and they are no jeopardy.
Right.
I think this show, the Comedy Slab, has more jeopardy. We built some in, didn't we? Because you don't know what homework I'm going to set. I never know what homework you're going to set.
Yeah.
And you don't know if I'm going to like it. And I don't necessarily know if you, the setter of the homework, like it. But there is no jeopardy where I have to say, in context, that girl we hear at the end, she'd be terrifying in a, quotes, proper thriller.
Yeah.
She'd do really scary eyes, the makeup and everything. But we already know they're all pussycats. And they have, well, I mean, we don't know at this stage, but, I mean, there's very little they can do, really. Even if they do manage to scare the tenants.
Sorry, I was going to say I like the way the little girl frightens them more than There's a scene a bit later where she stands next to the captain. One of them's an RAF captain, isn't he? And or an army captain, and she stands next to him, and he goes, "Oh!" Look. She makes him jump. She's only about 8. I don't know. I saw a different program, quite obviously, but
yeah, clearly, yeah. Maybe I was. You see, I thought Patrick Swayze was great, but hang on, have I watched?
You watched the wrong one, didn't you?
Oh,
I mean, there's a scene where Alison and is it Alison and Mike? I can't remember. Alison and Mike turn up in the car, and the kids in America is playing on the radio, and somebody says it's Kim Wilde, and you think, how does he know it's Kim Wilde? But that's
he's wearing 1980s glasses. This is the Boy Scout leader.
Yeah, the boys. I couldn't place him in time. I thought he was like 1920s, 1930s. I did, but.
Not with those glasses, I wouldn't have thought.
No, it was when he said that the car was like a spaceship, and I thought...
Oh, well, yeah, that threw me as well. Hang on, aren't you guilty of the very thing you told me off for? Just enjoy the show.
Yeah, no, I do.
That's what you said to me.
We've said this before, though. We always overthink it when we're slabbing it, don't we? Because you're critiquing it. It's a different thing from watching it. But what I liked was, and it was the little subtle things, like that's why the caveman calls her Wilde, because he thinks that she's Kim Wilde.
Yes. Well, that makes sense, but how we got there doesn't, unfortunately. Right. And then for anyone under 40, they won't know who Kim Wilde is anyway, or they wouldn't.
Of course they will. She's advertising chocolate on the telly. What's the matter?
Well, there is that, yeah, but they'll think, oh, who's this landscape gardener?
They've got the internet. If they can't be bothered to look it up, then I look up Justin Bieber to find out who he is. So, just reverse your polarity and look it up, you lazy sausage. What's the matter with you?
I'm not reversing my polarity in front of you, or indeed any of our loyal listeners.
Not for anyone. What about the scenes where, before she can see them, because a bit later on, she can actually see the ghosts right near the end, but what about the scenes where she can't see them, but they're in the room? Did you like the way that... You didn't like that, no?
A bit.
I'm looking at his face,
on.
Everybody. You didn't like that, I can tell.
No, I'm thinking. There's a certain charm early on, but they kind of throw that away. So,
I mean, the other thing, I thought there was so much great stuff in there in the writing. Like they go down to the basement to try and fix the heating, and they put the light on, and there's a whole new set of ghosts played by the same cast.
That threw me, but obviously it doesn't take an awful lot.
Down in the basement, is the whole who obviously don't get visitors very often, and they go, "Come back soon."
But they're very familiar with the heating system. Obviously,
yeah, because obviously they've heard so many people come down and go, "Oh, that's the pilot light" or whatever, so they know it all now, don't they? That's what I picked up from there, which I thought the writing was great. I thought it was really. And the execution of the scripts as well, because they're a unit, because they work together a lot. I thought the to and fro, the badinage was it was just the timing was excellent. I thought I
didn't see any ghosts with bandages.
Bandagage.
Mummies. Anyway, do you know what? I probably shouldn't confess to it, but I was a bit thrown by there being a whole different set of ghosts. And in my defence, down in the basement by the boiler.
Yeah.
And in my defence, it doesn't make any sense in the terms of the show. And any show that departs from reality has to create its own reality. Even if it wants to think, we can throw all the rules away. But, well, that's partly the problem I have with this one, is inconsistency. But all the other ghosts upstairs, they're free to roam, aren't they? They can even go through walls. So why would you have a set of ghosts suddenly that don't leave the basement?
Well, you don't know that they do. You're just assuming that, aren't you? I mean, you don't
well,
see
didn't
them.
You just assume that? I've got the listeners on my side here. Didn't they hear you say, they keep seeing visitors down there talking about the boiler system?
Yeah, the ghosts who are down there. But you're saying that the other ghosts upstairs can go anywhere. But is that the case? Do we know that? Or
well, we'd certainly know they can move from room to room. And
in the upstairs of the house, yeah.
Did you notice why your favourite actor, Mr. Baynton, was called Thomas, or why it seemed particularly appropriate at one point?
No.
He was a peeping Thomas, wasn't he? Looking into the shower room.
He's looking into the shower. Yeah, I never picked up on that. Yeah. You ever thought you might think too much about these things?
Hang on, just give me a moment to think.
There was a lot of unsaid stuff that I liked as well. Jim Howick, the guy who I first came across in Peep Show, if people remember, I think it was about series 8 or 9. It was late on in Peep Show. He was the guy who they employed at not Jeremy. What's the other one? The other one in Peep Show, I can't remember the character names. But where he worked, they employed this guy who was fed with a tube up his nose, and he turned out to be like really ruthless, and got them, got promoted over them, and got off with the girl and all this sort of stuff. Jim Howick played that character in Peep Show. He's this scout character that you mentioned, and he's got some kind of spear or something.
Yes, one assumes this is how he died and became a ghost. But I just think,
but nobody mentions it, do they?
No. I mean, I don't know whether we're going to find these things out episode by episode. Well, I won't, because I won't be troubling their ratings again. But I'm sorry to say, I'd say it with a heavy heart, because I did want to like it, but I don't know. I think there's a whole school of shows now, and I don't know if it's necessarily just this troupe, where it is overcomplicated. At the very time you're accusing me of overthinking, I'm actually thinking it's almost like, I know this won't have been the conversation, but the effect is almost like, if we throw a few extra characters at it, it might get funnier, and throw a few extra layers of complexity, except the ones you've got don't actually work for me. We've probably got a point of agreement there, because the one thing that I would say is that if you were to change anything, would be to reduce the number of ghosts. I do kind of think it's a bit busy in terms of interaction. But then, of course, if you're working with a company of 5 to start with, and then you invite people in like Katie Wicks, to be part of that, obviously, and Lolly Adefope was on as well, wasn't she? From from Partridge, and so if you bring those people in, you've then got to find screen time and characters for them as well. And I did feel it was a little bit busy, because you've got the ghost characters, you've got quite a lot of ghosts, and then you've got the main couple. Plus, of course, it being the first episode, and knowing the setup, we had an estate agent plus a solicitor, and
So yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I think you're right in a way that they could have pared it back. I don't really know why they needed people. I mean, great actress as she is, and funny actress as she is, Katie Wicks, and big fan of hers. We've reviewed her in Party, amongst other things, haven't we? And you kind of think, well, I don't really know why if they've got a core of 5, I don't really know why that.
You should build it around that core, shouldn't you?
Exactly.
Really?
Yeah. I don't really know. Have you, just as a matter of interest, have you ever seen Horrible Histories or not? Have you not?
I have seen clips of it, and I like it. And actually, sorry, we must get on to our third and final clip in a moment, but just quickly on that, the genius of Horrible Histories is it's making history relevant and contemporary, isn't it? And they do songs and raps and all sorts. This, of course, is, I don't know, it's like they could have done with a structure like that to build it around. As it is, it's lost, because you've got these multiple layers of history, lowercase h, not as in Horrible Histories, that are just all that you've got to tie you down is this space, this house. And they could have done with some more consistent rules.
The fluidity of that I quite like. I mean, I like the fact that they've got the Neanderthal guy, the caveman or whatever he is, the guy that roamed the land that the house was built on. So his ghost, right the way through to, I presume, the MP is the last one that would have died in the house. And you've got like kind of all those periods in between. but they're quite broad periods, aren't they? I kind of like that fluidity. But I mean, I really like the interaction between them and the fact that they all get on each other's nerves. And, you know, Fanny, the woman who keeps throwing herself out the window every night at, was it 3 o'clock in the morning? Because that's how she killed herself. And, so, you know, and they go, I can't sleep. It's not the throwing yourself out the window. It's the screaming that's the problem, you know. And it's just like they're all forced to coexist. What we didn't mention was at the start, we see a woman on her deathbed. Who was the last of the family line,
the Buttons,
because Alison's quite removed, isn't she, in the family tree? And they almost like try to say to her, you know, oh, we're the ghosts of the house, and you know you can sort of be with us and join us. And she goes. She's not, and she's gone. That's it. She's gone. She's not sticking around. So you kind of think, I don't know. You know, they're quite
bit like me as a viewer. Just had enough by then.
Yeah, I'm amazed you wouldn't even go for a second. Because like
life is short.
Yeah, I mean sometimes you kind of think, don't you know? Well, I'll give another one. I mean, This Country, which we reviewed a couple of episodes ago. Which I wasn't a huge fan of at all. In the back of my mind, I think I must give episode 2 an outing just to see if I pull myself into the sphere. Anyway, sorry, you're right. Should we have just the final clip, and we can head off to put you out of your misery? I thought you'd be on a high this week because the Martin Clunes comedy Warren, I see, is out on DVD.
Oh, you know how to niggle me. So, no, I don't. Unfortunately, after last week's, the real high was last week with, Inside Number 9, master storytellers, Reese with the unpronounceable surname, and
with a spoon, and Reese without a spoon,
and Steve with a ton of
another
spoon. Anyway, so it was always going to be a fault. Whatever either of us chose, in my view, this week was always going to be a come down. Anyway, are you going to get us on to clip 3 then?
Yeah, final clip then. This is a scene where, as Adrian's already said in his massive spoiler, Julian the MP earlier on in the episode has been showing his poltergeist skills with his ability to move a cup. That was the other thing I liked about that. He spent all that effort moving that cup, and it turned out it was a plastic one, and it just bounced off the floor, didn't it? You're expecting it to break, and it didn't even break. But as Adrian said in his spoiler earlier, Julian was trying
to let it lie,
trying to move this. But he is walking amongst the corridors of the house and spies Alison, the new owner, precariously leaning out of the window looking at a pigeon, and decides to take his own action to solve their problems.
Hello. We'll be overrun with people taunting us with their life.
No, we'll just try again. If at first you don't succeed...
Precisely. That's right. We must prepare another charge. Hit them when they're vulnerable. We may have lost the battle, but the war is far from over. Fanny's early?
I'm right here.
What?
He's kid wild!
Alison! Alison! Okay. Look at me. Alison, can you hear me? Alison, I'm here. Can you hear me? Yeah, stay with me. Just keep your eyes open. Alison, I'm here.
Given the grief I've been given over the spoilers, I'm not going to explain any of all that visual stuff going on.
I can't believe you.
What do you mean you can't believe me?
I can't believe with that clip's playing and Adrian says, well, this is going to need some explaining. It might spoil it. Or words to that effect.
I think I'm as inconsistent as the plot I'm criticising. That's terrible, isn't it?
It's life, isn't it? I mean, but essentially, I chose that because that's the point at which, and I don't think we're giving too much away, that's the point at which she falls out the window. and she bleary-eyed. It's quite difficult, isn't it, to clip the audio of a visual program. But bleary-eyed, she looks up into the window and she can see all the ghosts. She realises she can see the ghosts before they cart her off in the ambulance. So obviously the head injury or whatever injury she sustained means that she can now see them. And that's made a little bit more clear just before the end, isn't it, where she actually speaks to Julian, the MP, and he realises that she can now see them, which I thought was quite... You see, now, to me, I thought at that point that she was going to die and become one of the ghosts.
Okay.
Would that have been better? Would that have helped you?
No, because... No.
Why?
I didn't think that would happen. Well, that would short-circuit the whole story, I would have thought. But it's only the story I imagined was going to unfold. And it turns out I was right. Which, of course, is the most important thing.
I think you've got into a dislike infinity loop, haven't you? And you don't. Doesn't matter what they do. If they did the Thor Campbell sketch in the middle of it, you'd go, "Oh, this is rubbish."
It is. It is pretty irredeemable for me now. I must confess that. As I say, the good performances, loads of individual good things, loads of high production values. And as ever, dear listener, make up your own mind. Don't listen to me. Shane doesn't. No one else does. So why should you? It is my opinion, and Shane's obviously is very different. Hopefully, that will stir more curiosity for more people to give it the time of day. So,
did you like the script? Did you think the script was funny or not? Did you not have a titter?
But the script includes the whole shebang, really, doesn't it?
No, I mean,
unless you just mean the dialogue.
The script.
Yes, yeah, I suppose. He said grudgingly. I must have done. Remind me of something I might have liked.
Did you not like the bit where Fanny's revelation, where she said the reason that she throws herself out the window is because she caught her husband upon the groundskeeper with the butler upon him, and somebody else went, I think they call it a manwich. Because somebody says it's like a sandwich. She said no, manwich, and somebody says I think you'll find it's called a Moroccan tea party.
Yes, and of course it was the MP who knew the actual technical term. We may find out that's how he died. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was quite sharp writing. A great cast, as you've already conceded. What's not to like? You just don't like ghosts. You're a ghostist.
A ghostist. Yeah. No, it's a classic case of. I'm trying to think what it looks. Stop interrupting my train of thought. The train's now in the station and it's not moving.
Don't push the toilet.
I think you're old-fashioned. It's a chemical toilet. Get over yourself. It is all I can see now is toilets on trains. I'm trying to think. Oh, it's less than some of its parts. That's the phrase I was looking for.
Right.
I'm sorry to say.
Well, I'll tell you what then, as a favour to you, because I know you like these kind of things, I will put myself out. I'm definitely going to watch the rest of it. I'm going to watch the rest of the series, unless it gets drastically bad in episode 2. Because it was interesting, actually, and if anybody ever wonders whether we go back and watch stuff, I was saying to you the other day that I watched the rest of This Time with Alan Partridge, which I thought was pretty desperate, really. But I still watched the whole set, and I thought I said to you, didn't I, episode 5, you might want to go back and watch that one because it made me laugh out loud in places and seemed to hit the spot. So I will go on and watch the other episodes. Let's put you out of your misery and whack a score up on the door, Gloria.
Gosh, I hadn't even thought about that.
Do you want me to do mine?
Yeah, okay, buy me some time.
7. Get out of that without moving.
Except we should tell new listeners it's out of 5 and you're out of order. So try again.
All right, 4.5.
No.
Yep, 4.5. I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was a cracking cast. I thought the writing was great.
Yes.
The inconsistencies that you talk of. What are these inconsistencies that you talk of? I wasn't the only one. As I say, at one point I thought, oh, hang on a second, if they can't touch anything, how do they sit on? But then, I kind of got over that and just carried on and suspended my disbelief.
Right. Why is it you can suspend yours and my suspenders always fall down?
I think there is something more base than that. I think because we've had this conversation before where I couldn't get to grips with it, and I think it all boils down to how you warm to the characters. I do. I think it's got a real, whether you warm to them, buy into them, and are prepared to go with it, then you're prepared to give it more latitude. And I've been there where I've been in your situation, where you think, oh, it doesn't matter what they do, I can't. I just don't. I don't like these people, or I don't relate to them, or I don't find them funny. And I think that's, you can't get past that. I really believe
all
that.
Three in my case. I didn't like them, can't relate to them, and they're not funny.
I didn't find them funny, yeah.
Apart from that, it went like a dream. No, I had a really heavy heart before viewing it a second time. I think I must have sighed out loud, and there was no one to hear my sighing, which is tragic in its own way.
That's the thing about the Comedy Slab podcast. Nobody can hear you scream either.
But we can hear Fanny scream.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
4.5. What are you going to give it?
I can only give it a 2. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And it only gets that. That is generous, he says. That's for good production values. So, everyone doing their job to the best of their ability. But I would say just a dodgy setup that's, nothing is going to get around that for me.
All right. That was Ghosts. It was a monumental TV production in association with them there. For BBC, and it is available on the iPlayer. I guess it'll be out in some form of purchase. So if you just search, probably the best thing to search is something like Mathew, Baynton and Ghosts. You should be able to find it at a later date. Time for you to give us the homework. Did you say you'd chosen 2 this week?
All I meant was I couldn't decide between 2, but I will come to the second one. It's around for a bit on iPlayer, so that's fine.
Oh, okay.
But this was iPlayer that we've been talking about, which for the uninitiated, is the BBC's catch-up service, certainly available within the UK. And so another one, do you want to try and guess, or is that too bizarre or too much to choose from?
What, from all the thousands of tens of thousands of comedy programs that exist in all the world? Do I want to guess which one you've chosen?
You're always whinging that there's not enough available, that you've missed the window on the BBC. So we could at least narrow it down to the ones for which the window is open. Let me give you a little clue.
Yes.
It's probably a big clue. Series 3.
Oh, that's a massive clue. Is it TV or radio? I mean, narrow it down like that. Whittle it down for me, baby.
Well, I would have said BBC Sounds if it were radio. So
so corporate.
I know. I can't help myself. I've got to keep Auntie the client on board.
When I ask people, I go, it's on the BBC website, yeah. Is it on the one that works or the one that doesn't? It's on the one that works. It's on telly then.
Have you ever thought the problem might be you, sir? Operator error.
Oh, yeah. That's it. Blame the customer. That's the way to win friends.
That's exactly how it goes. So I've said iPlayer. It is TV.
Series 3.
And it's going to be Series 3, Episode 1. And a bigger clue is it's only just become available. That is, if you're across new shows on the Beeb. It has to be a comedy. It has to be available now, which it is.
No idea.
It has to be Series 3. If I say Leslie Manville, surely.
No.
No?
No.
Well, this might be good, actually, if you've never seen it before.
Go on.
Have you seen Mum, or are you keeping Mum?
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I haven't, actually.
Fantastic.
It's
for the purposes of the show.
It's one of those that's been on my radar for some time to watch. And I recorded it at the time. I've got it, but I just haven't watched it. Right. So, it's on Series 3, isn't it now?
It is. Yeah, you're slightly behind the curve.
Oh, can we do it in 2 weeks' time so I can watch the other 12 episodes that I haven't caught up with yet from the first 2? No, maybe not. I didn't know that was her name, but I have seen it, and on the face of it, like the look of it. Yeah. And I think you've watched the first 2 series, haven't you?
I have. It was my temporary landlord who absolutely raved about it. I have to say I don't rave to the same extent, although that would be quite difficult because he was madly in love with it and arguably madly in love with Leslie Manville, but that's another story. But it is good. I do believe in it. I had to get something to swish around the mouth to get rid of the taste of ghosts. So yes, it is, I believe, a superior work. But I haven't seen this particular episode yet. So a new series doesn't necessarily work out, as we've commented before.
You don't like things that have got an element of fantasy, do you? I've noticed. You weren't keen on Zapped. I think you like things that are rooted in reality, don't you? I think that's what it is.
It's arguable whether Inside Number 9 is or isn't, or at least the one we slabbed last week. I would say that. I was going to say huge exception would have to be that.
I think it is, definitely.
But it's monkeying with you the whole time, and even you conceded that in last week's slab.
I'm going to choose something that's really way out there and see how you get on with that. See the world of fantasy. Yeah, see, it'll blow your mind, baby. Sorry, anyway, so Mum for next week is the homework. Series 3, Episode 1.
Yeah. Enjoy,
okay.
I hope.
Okay, I'll try.
Lovely. Right, shall I do social medias very quickly? We are at Comedy Slab on Twitter and likewise at Comedy Slab on Facebook. And Twitter, as we are wont to say from time to time, we're not just bigging ourselves up. We do try and give you a little flavour of other things out there. We read some tweets so you don't have to. So I'm filtering out stuff I think might be less relevant and trying to find some stuff I think you'd be more interested in. And yeah, some of them sort of hook in with shows we put on the Comedy Slab and dissected. So all relevant. Just follow at Comedy Slab on the twits.
And don't forget we're on Facebook and oh no, you've just done that one, haven't you?
Don't forget to listen to me first.
I was listening. Don't forget you can catch us on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher. I mean, basically we're out there, baby. Spotify as well. You can get us on, and if you do get the chance to subscribe, basically what that means is that we will just pop up automatically into your device. We'll just creep in there in the night and you won't even know until you need us, and then hey, we'll be there like genies in the bottle. And it just makes it easier, for everybody really. To make it easier for us. I mean, it's quite difficult.
It's never going to be easy, is it? Yeah,
and
we make it look difficult, though, to our credit.
I think that is the beauty of it, isn't it? It is difficult, but we make it look even harder. So
people are thinking, I was going to have my own podcast, but I've heard them, and I'm not going to bother now.
It must be impossible.
If it takes the genius that is Shane O'Connor. And a little plea, is that your false leg coming off?
No, that was supposed to be this. Hang on, is it? Oh, hang on.
Oh, it's a comedy ruler.
Oh,
I think you've done yourself a mischief.
You shouldn't
use
a knife.
See that. I was going to say, we value your recommendation to friends, family, whomever, family, pets. Get the word out there. Spread the slab, if that doesn't sound improper.
Yes,
so perhaps it does.
Bit of slab spreading never hurt anybody.
Yes. And a generous star rating on iTunes / Apple Podcast wouldn't go entirely amiss.
And that's it for another week. Thank you very much for your company, to you, Adrian, as well, to everybody listening. And
thank you.
Until the next time, I will be off to see if I can put the willies up, Adrian.
And I'm going to walk through a wall, but I might wake up with a headache.